Ladies and gentle mages, civilians across the multiverse, welcome. And this is a new type of video. I've never really done a type of video like this before, but I think it's very necessary considering how big of an announcement we get today. It has got standard, it's got legacy, historic, and alchemy, hits, buffs, nerfs, whatever you want to call it, all in one. So let's just dive right into this. We're going to dive right into standard. Alrund's Epiphany is banned. That's right, it's just straight up banned from standard. And I think this was Alchemy's biggest strength because Izzet was so oppressive, at least in my opinion, that Alrund's Epiphany and Divide by Zero being banned is going to pretty much make standard. Well, it's going to shake it up, and it's also going to make it a lot more playable, in my opinion, because I think honestly, this deck was so oppressive that I think it drove a lot of people to Alchemy on its own. And now that these cards are banned, I think you can easily make the case, and I know that I will be making some more Alchemy content being standard going forward. We're going to do a little bit of both, but we're going to shake it up. Faceless Haven is also banned. I think that's kind of okay. I mean, obviously it's less impactful than Divide by Zero and Alrund's Epiphany, but now you get a little bit less of those monocolored decks that are just going to be running Snow and just going for Faceless Haven just because you might as well. You might as well just get a 4-3 beat stick. So that's a little bit interesting here. The Nimble Pimper, I'm not going to act like I play Legacy. I obviously do not, but that's very interesting. I've seen this card before. The Monkey Pirate is now banned. In Historic, Memory Lapse has gone from suspended to just straight up banned. I mean, that's pretty cool, I'm not going to lie. I mean, countering something for 2 seems pretty busted, and putting it on top of the library can put you in some weird locks. The Fairy Time Raveler has been rebalanced and unbanned. We'll get into that in a little bit, but I want to get right into the Alchemy rebalancing here. The Alchemy, obviously, I've been covering a lot of Alchemy stuff, so we're going to go from the nerfs and then the buffs. I think the nerfs are a lot more impactful. So let's just start right from Divide by Zero. Now it is only going to learn if it targets a spell with mana value 4 or less. And I mean, Divide by Zero is now just outright banned in standard, but in Alchemy, okay, so now you can still play with it, but you only get to learn if the mana value was 4 or less. I think this is like really interesting. I'm not sure how I feel about it. I mean, I obviously like it. Divide by Zero is, I think, probably one of the best blue cards other than Hullbreaker Horror, which we will get into in just a second. But this is really interesting. This is a nice little slap on the wrist for Divide by Zero. Fearsome Whelp, this is really interesting because they nerfed it. They gave it at the beginning of your upkeep, each dragon card in your hand perpetually gains the spell cost 1 to cast, like I did before, but it's at the beginning of your upkeep, rather, and then they gave it haste. So the haste is a nice little bit of a taste, nice little sprinkle, I guess, but now it's going to be at the beginning of your upkeep, which is, it gives your opponent a whole nother turn. Why Fearsome Whelp is so awful to play against is because it allows you to just automatically drop that turn 3 Town Raiser Tyrant, and now if you get an extra turn to be able to either bounce it or kill it, exile, whatever you want to do, now they can't get into that turn 3 Town Raiser Tyrant or even like a Moonveil Regent or something like as easily. So this is nice. I really appreciate this little bit of a nerf, and yeah, I'm all for it. So Fearsome Whelp gets a little bit of a bump here. Hullbreaker Horror can now be countered. I like any sort of buff to this card because, I mean, look, whenever you cast a spell, choose one, you can just, whenever you cast anything, you can just put it back onto the stack and whatnot. Once this card comes out, it is the ultimate control card. It's just everything you could ever want as a control mage. So now that it can be countered, it's very interesting here. I mean, it's very interesting here. Now you're going to be able to play around it a little bit more, and yeah, this will be interesting. I actually really like this because Hullbreaker Horror kind of seemed broken. For 7 mana, it just gives you the ultimate boss creature that just, you have to kill it immediately or else it's just control city from here. So really cool to see the Hullbreaker Horror get a little bit of a nerf here. That can't be countered, and now it can be. Pretty cool, pretty cool. So it's flash and everything, so Hullbreaker Horror, nice little bump to you. Nice little nerf. Inquisitor Captain. This is one that's very awesome. Okay, now it has to be casted from your hand. So whenever it enters the battlefield, you're going to get all the shenanigans and spamming everything. But it has to be if you cast it from your hand. So if you basically, well, does it actually have to be from your hand? If it's just if you cast it, supposedly. So, but the big thing here is it won't be able to be mimicked. So the mimic I forget the name, but the mimic thing that comes out and duplicates your Inquisitor captain, and then you can get another mimic, and then get another one, and then you can get like what, 3 Inquisitor captains on the battlefield, and just go super mega wide. I think this is a nice hit on the Inquisitor captain because honestly, we needed a little bit of a something to it. I think this was actually, I actually kind of expected them to go this route, but overall, I'm pretty pleased. Any sort of, little slap to the wrist on the Inquisitor Captain was kind of needed, and now you can't do any of those insane duplication shenanigans with the Mimic. So that's nice. Lear Disciple of the Drone, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really see this one coming. It's added, now it's just during your turn to the flashback ability. So spells still can't be countered and everything, and as long as it's your turn, each instant and sorcery is going to have flashback, but it has to be your turn. So you can't play anything on your opponent's turn. And I think it's pretty cool. I mean, I didn't really expect a Lear hit of any sort, but I think it's pretty cool, honestly. It's going to add a little bit more pizzazz. Control's getting a little bit of a nerf here, so I think, yeah, once Lear comes out, you might moan and groan a little bit, all those control cards, all those divide by zeros, which is now nerfed, even Fading Hope, you can only use it on your opponent's turn, so it's pretty cool. Sanguine Brushstroke, now, this is a very minor one. It's removed life gain from sacrificing the blood token trigger, so now whenever you sacrifice a blood token, each opponent is going to lose 1 life, but you're not really going to gain a life. It's still cool. I mean, it definitely, it is impact. I don't want to say it's not. It definitely will make aggro. I mean, I think they actually say this. Yeah, actually aggressive strategies. Yeah, so aggressive decks will be able to finish off Brushstroke decks a little bit more easily now. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. Town-Raiser Tyrant. Whenever it enters the battlefield, oh, we all know what the Town-Raiser Tyrant does. Oh, it's so crushing. Now it's going to be added non-basic. I think this is really interesting because not only does the Whelp get a little bit of a slap on the wrist, now it's a non-basic only. I think this is interesting. This might give a little bit more of an incentive to go for, make a lot more non-basic ones. I don't know, because now that it's weakened, do we really care that much? Are people going to be running it with the Town-Raiser Tyrant and the Fearsome Whelp? Or are we going to be more incentivized to run basic lands so that it can't be targeted with the Town-Raiser Tyrant? I don't know. Very interesting. I'm very glad Town-Raiser Tyrant got a little bit of a smack on the wrist here. We got the card Legality. Teferi. This is modern. Look at me. Look at me. This is historic. And now it is legal, but it costs 4 instead of 3. So 3 Fairy is now 4 Fairy? So yeah, okay, that's pretty cool here. I mean, Teferi, obviously I remember when this card was in standard, it was pretty annoying to play with, but now that it costs 4, I don't know. I don't play a whole lot of Historic, so maybe you can comment and tell me how bad or terrible this might be for Historic. I don't know, but now it costs 4 and it is back, baby. So I'm just going to scroll up here really quick to the card buffs. These card buffs are a lot less meaningful than the nerfs, rather. So I'm going to start with the buffs here. I can never say this. Asurarak, I don't know. The Arclish, this is a very small bump, but if you notice, everything is going to be dungeons here. So remove the opponent's option to sacrifice a creature on the attack trigger. I actually had to reread this card a few times, but at the bottom when it says whenever it attacks, create a number of 2/2 black zombie creature tokens equal to the number of opponents you have. But it was saying that they had an option to sacrifice a creature instead. I mean, that's pretty cool. It's definitely, it might add up because there's a lot more dungeon cards that we're going to address here in just a second. But yeah, I mean, it's a very small buff, but hey, it's still something. Assemble from parts. I love this. I love this. I actually already had an assemble from parts deck. You can actually see that on my channel. I think I posted it maybe like about a week ago. But no, the lowered overall the cost. So now it requires 2 black mana, and instead of 4, it costs 3 now. So target creature in your graveyard perpetually gains 1 black for a total of 3. Exile this card from your graveyard, shuffled into your library, create a token that's a copy of it, except it's a 4/4 black zombie. So now you can do some reanimation with a little bit of a cheaper cost. I love this, and I will absolutely be making another video with assemble from parts. Blood Rage Alpha, I wish it just did something with the ability. I mean, it goes from a 4/4 to a 4/3. This feels a lot like the Demi-Lich thing, where it's like, yeah, it's cool, but like, I just don't see it getting play. I mean, 4/4 to a 4/3, whatever. I mean, I hate to say it, it's probably not going to be used in Wolves or anything, so it is what it is. It's a cool little buff, but I'm not going to spend too much time on it because honestly, it's just not, it just isn't enough, to be honest with you. So Cloister Gargoyle, I haven't seen this card in a hot second, but maybe now I have to, because now from 3, it's now 2. And whenever it enters the battlefield, you're gonna venture into a dungeon, and I think that's pretty big. You know, they really are itching for a dungeon buff, so we'll see how this works out. As long as you complete a dungeon, it's gonna get plus 3/0 and has flying, so that's pretty cool. And then Dungeon Descent, again, they're just really bumping these dungeons. I'm all for it. Dungeons did not get a whole lot of love because honestly they kind of sucked. So this is going to be enters the battlefield tapped rather than it removes the enters the battlefield tapped and then costs 1 mana to activate from 4 mana. So I think this is actually really cool. I think I'm actually going to build a dungeon deck now because I mean this seems like it's making it quite viable. I mean these are a lot of buffs to dungeons. So Eliwick the Tumblestrum. Decrease activate now the third ability is -6 for -7. I think that's pretty relevant. That's enough to get a little bit excited about it. Again, these are all a bunch of little buffs that are going to add in to a big thing. These are all dungeon cards, so pretty cool here. Now you can go ahead and go off for your ultimate for -6 rather than -7. Fate Reversal. Again, this is another card I haven't seen in a hot second. It's been a while. I've only seen it in like drafts and stuff. But return up to 1 target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Venture into a dungeon. Pretty cool. Now just instead of 2, it just costs 1. I don't know. Maybe that it gets a little bit more play now. So Find the Path is also going to be another thing. Again, these are cards that I haven't really seen a lot for, and they really push for the dungeons card. I actually kind of like it because, yeah, when it enters the battlefield, venture into the dungeon, and then you can add 2 mana of any one color. I don't think this is going to warrant seeing any play. I mean, I still don't think that's going to be any sort of significant bump, but it's still cool to see. You know, Find the Path gets a little bit of an extra boost. Puppet Raiser, another increase. They really love doing this, the 3 to 4. I mean, I like it. I guess these things also get hit by Valorous Stance now. But it is what it is. Puppet Raiser is just going to go from a 3 to 4. I think Puppet Raiser is kind of an underrated card in general, but 3 for 4, you know, hey, it's going to survive some extra things. Now Valorous Stance will target it. I guess that's pretty cool. You know, it is what it is. The old drop. So the enchantment is now going to enter the battlefield. Again, venture into the dungeon. Everything's going to be venturing into the dungeon for cheaper. And obviously -2, and then as long as you've completed a dungeon, which hopefully will be easier to do, you'll get -5. And last but not least, we've got the Triumphant Adventurer, and then it's going to be a 1/1 into a 2/1. So pretty cool here. I mean, you know, as long as it's your turn, it's going to have first strike, death touch, still the same thing. But whenever it attacks, you venture into the dungeon. So this is really cool. You know, I really like all the things that they've been doing here with all the dungeons things. And I love the alchemy adjustments. I would have liked to see Key to the Archive get a little bit of a smack. Maybe like it just adds 1 mana after or something. But I mean, I can't be too picky. These are overall pretty good. And I would love to know what you all think down in the comments below. So yeah, just go ahead and leave a like, subscribe, comment, something ugly. Just do something because that really helps out the channel. And I appreciate all of you. But until then, I will see you on the next episode. ManaMan out.